right, so again, this is what I asked people to do, was to go to the P drive, and under the Chapter 4 folder, open the BMI.txt file. Did you find it, Luke? Okay, all right, and then, then start up Eclipse. All right, so then we're going to come in here, if you haven't done so, File, New, Java Project. We're going to call it just BMI, which is short for Body Mass Index. Click the Finish button, which will put a BMI up here. Then we'll right mouse click on that. You kind of know hopefully the drill by now. New, Package, edu.blackhawk is the one I use, .jscott. All right, and then under there, I'm going to right mouse click, New, and I'm going to create my class. And my class is, I'm also going to call that BMI. All right, and I do want a main in it. If you didn't do it with a main in it, it really doesn't matter. You're just going to have to add that code. All right, so we've got all that now. And what I asked you to do again was to grab all this stuff. And then we can copy all that to the top of the screen here. Always nice to have at least a little comment, so you can always go back and explain. You'll notice, I don't know if this is the best spell checker in the world or the best dictionary they have in here. It doesn't like underweight. It doesn't like sedentary. Those are both, you know, change it to stinter. And I don't even know what stinter is. All right, probably don't want to know. But, you know, underweight, come on. You know, just change it to undried. Yeah, that would be good. Okay. So we're right here. Again, I'm just going to do a little cleanup. This is work I do. You don't have to do this. If you'd rather not, then don't. All right, so I'm ready. Hopefully yours is looking like this. Again, if you did not tell the system to create a main for you, you'll have to type this in yourselves. So if that's missing, you'll have to type that in. All right? So my class name is BMI. And this is going to be very similar to what we did last hour. All right? Again, not identical, but by and large, very similar. And you'll notice, like I said, there's about 100 lines. We already have about 40 done. Okay? So taking it from the top, I'm going to add my program constants. And I'm going to put those in. Let me hit enter a few times here just to move that up a little bit. There we go. And just like I did last hour, I'm going to make a bunch of minimums and maximums in here. notice again that everything that we have in here has all got the yellow warnings, just like we saw earlier in the other class. It's saying that we've got these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 things that we have declared and initialized, but we're not yet using. All right. I'm also going to put in here a decimal formatter. We looked at this last time. We'll talk about it some more before class is done. All right, so don't let, and I'm going to get an error message when I put in this one, which is fine. So again, don't let that bother you that there's an error there. We'll fix that in a minute. Now, even those of us who are not the most adept typing, does everybody have this part done? Again, these are our constants. We'll use that for the underweight, the overweight. That's in our formula. That's the minimum allowable height, the maximum allowable height, the minimum allowable weight, the maximum allowable weight, just a string that'll say overweight or underweight or optimal. All right. Now you'll notice that if you look here on line 52, you'll notice that that line is in red. And it's in red because what the system wants is it wants us up at the top of the screen. It wants us to do an import statement. We have done none. So notice if I put my mouse over this, it says quick fix is to import decimal format .java text. So if I take that and double click on it, now it added that import statement for me. I could have also manually put it in, but I let the system add it for me. There'll be another one of those that we'll do later. But you'll notice that the red underneath here went away. So we now have all of our constants, and we now have all of our input variables. All right? And I don't hear much typing, so I'm taking for granted that most people are at least in here someplace. We're over halfway done with the program already. All right? And actually, when I did mine, I didn't put a try-catch around it, so I'm going to ask that you do that as part of your assignment. All right? And I'll show you what I mean in just a couple minutes. So, come down here, start putting in some code. Again, I get another error message. We're going to fix that in just a minute. All right, well, let's fix this one first and see if it fixes the other one. All right. So if I take my mouse and put it over where it says J option pane, it says J option pane cannot be resolved. Well, I want to do that import. You see how that fixed that error. I'm still trying to figure out what this problem is. That's height. Nope. That's height equals, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that'd be better. Thank you. All right, so now we've attempted to input it. And now we'll do the validation part. Now the good news is what we want to do with the weight is virtually identical. So I'm going to copy all that in here, and I'm going to paste it down here, and I'm just going to change the H's to W's. Bless you. Hopefully I got them all. Weight, 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 weight. Looks good. Bless you. So if I save this now, and if I go in and run it, all right, if I put in something out of range, it doesn't take it, tells us to re-enter. If I put in something within range, good. Same thing with weight. If I put in something out of range, I get an error. All right, if I put in something within range, it's okay. All right, so all that's being handled right now. Put a little backslash n in here. You don't have to do this, but you can. Make it look a little nicer. All right, so once I get down to this point and I'm in around line 80, I now have a valid height and I now have a valid weight. So the only thing that's left to do is my BMI calculation. So that's what I'm going to do down here. Now, I think everybody in here would agree that the way that we're doing this, we're showing those input dialog boxes. But whether you realize it or not, you also have the opportunity here, if you choose to do it, that you don't have to do this, but I just want to show you this, okay? So you don't have to type in what I'm going to type in right now. Well, what I was trying to get across to you, and I'm getting an error message, and I don't want to take the time to fix it. I'll try to do it during the break. But this area right here, the system.out.println, that's what's going to write in your area down here. So you can use that if you want to as a debug area, and I'll fix that during the break. So. All right, so what we should have now is everything except our weight status. All right. So as we come in here, if the BMI that we just calculated is less than our underweight status, status equals, whoops. So after we do that, all we have to do is just write our output, and we're finished. That's it. And I'll come right back to it, but let me run it to make sure I didn't screw anything up. So enter height, enter weight. Well, that's wrong. Overweight weight, so I don't need that. That's fine. I'll fix that in a second. That'll fix that. Looks good. Okay, all looks like it works. Now we put everything in main here. If we had done what we learned in Chapter 3 and what you should be working on now for that car program, what we would have done is the stuff that you see in here, that would have been our overwritten toString method, all right? And we would have had two files, bmi.java and bmi-demo.java, all right, where we would have created a bunch of objects, person objects or whatever, where we could have had their BMIs. I just decided to do it like this. So let's take it from the top. Comments hopefully are pretty self-explanatory. Again, the two import statements we need, this one was used for decimal formatting. And this is used for the J option pane stuff. Okay. Then we came in here and in main, we have our, again, 10 constants. Underweight, overweight, the one we use in the formula, the minimum allowable height, the maximum allowable height, the minimum allowable weight, the maximum allowable weight, and then these. If I wanted this, I really should have put here W-E-I-G-H-T. It's okay that I didn't. You know, that would have been fine. Either way, it was fine. All right. Anything that's in here up till this point that anybody has any questions on, because again, this is your chance to ask. If there's something that doesn't make sense, you should ask. Then we did the program variables. Remember, when you input something into a J option pane input dialog, it's a string. All right, it's a series of characters, so that's what this is. Then we use what's called one of the wrapper functions, W-R-A-P-P-E-R functions, and that converts what we put in here into height, and later it'll convert it into weight. All right, this is the BMI that we're going to calculate. This is the status, so this will either say underweight, overweight, or optimal weight. And this is the formatting. This formatter right here says, if for some reason we said the person was 96 inches and weighed 1 pound, which doesn't make sense, but just to play along here, that would say here if their BMI was less than 10, so let's say it was 9.7. All right, this would print it out. This means it print out a digit if there is one, and if there's not one, don't show it. The 0 means print it out. Always print, whoops. So this is expecting that probably the maximum value we're going to have in here is 99.99. Does that make sense to people? That's how we're formatting it. Yes. But again, if you take your mouse and you put it over where you've got the error, it should tell you that. If you double click on the first one there, it'll put it in there for you. Yeah, either way is fine. All right, and then we're inputting our height and converting it. Now this program's going to break, so you see this. So when I run this, if I put hello, it broke because it attempted to go and convert a string into a double, which doesn't work. So what I really should have done here is I should have written it, instead of writing it like this, I should have written it like this. We should have had here a try statement. I'm just going to remove this right now. It's going to get all red, but don't worry about it. It'll get fixed in a minute. Where I should have tried to do the inputting and the converting. And then I could have gone in and done my catch, where I would have caught my number format exception. Like I said, this is a little screwed up, but I'll fix it in just a second. All right, and in here, I could have come in and done some kind of a show message dialog, so I'm just going to steal this. So if you came in here and you put something that was not a number, all right, I could have just said in here, non-numeric input. All right, something like that. And then I have my choice over what I want to do next. All right. This is a little bit heavier now, but I literally could put the same kind of code back in here again, but then it gets to be really hinky, for lack of better words. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say this. I'm going to say, so I'll tell them that they had an error. Then I'm going to say in here, I'm going to say resetting weight to, I'm just going to say 150 pounds. All right? Or I guess that's height, I'm sorry. So 150 wouldn't make much sense. So let's say we'll just reset it here to 60. All right? So again, in other words, what that is saying here, play computer. Okay, you've got a height. You're attempting to convert it. If you can't convert it, it'll be because you have a number format exception. So you'll tell them there was an error, and you'll reset it automatically for them and go on. Otherwise, you'll come in here, and you'll check to see whether or not it's within range. Does all that make sense? All right. That's the way I should have done it to begin with, but I'd already written it. Back in here and make all those. Oops. Difference is now it should be pretty much idiot-proofed. So if I put in nothing, non-numeric input, resetting height to 60. All right, I guess I used the wrong thing there, but that's fine. Then the weight, non-numeric input, resetting it, and boom. Okay? And sorry, where I showed you here, that should have been a message dialog there. So let's see if it's now been IDI approved. All right. And if I run it again and I put in allowable values, there's underweight, there's overweight, and there's optimal weight. Okay? So again, that's the way we should have written it from the get-go, and I'll leave that up there for a minute, especially those of you who may be watching it and you want to look at it later. All right. So that's the try-catch I should have done, was what's in here. All right. Again, you should get used to using try-catches like this, because that will make sure that the input that we put in will be validated from the get-go. We're never allowing bad data into the system. The other way that I did it originally with the if and then using the while, you saw the program blew up when it was non-numeric input. All right. The new stuff, so to speak, is what's in here. Now, I want to make sure everybody understands this. And again, I'm not trying to talk down to you, but I do want to make sure you understand this. I'm just going to put a comment here. This line right here that you see, that is equivalent to what's shown below it. So math.pow, height, comma 2 is equivalent to height times height. All right. Normally, you call one of you'll invoke one of the built-in functions from the math class rather than doing it this way. In this case, you could say, well, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But had this been to the 8th power, for example, then you would have had to, this way you would have had to type in height times 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 height, which is kind of ridiculous. All right. So either one of those, either one of those ways would work. Okay. And then it's very similar to what we looked at before. If it's less than that, set the status to underweight. If it's greater than that, set the status to overweight. Otherwise, set the status to optimal and print out the associated stuff. This system.exit just means do a normal exit. 0 is a code that gets sent to the operating system that just said everything completed normally. I wanted you to see that because you'll see that in some of the later code that we will do. All right, so if I wanted to, normal program termination. Okay. But I'm asking, because I don't know, is there anything that's in here that doesn't make sense to people that you need me to go over? I will be happy to do that. Package, our imports, our constants, our variables, the try-catch on the height, the exact same try-catch on the weight. Again, all we did was we changed the heights to weights, and we changed those values in there from 12 to 72 to 1 to 777. All right. Then we came in and we used our if statement. And again, hopefully you see the fact that it's basically identical between the two languages. Just so you know, too, when you have just a single line of code like this, those are not required. I tend to put them in there anyway, but you notice I took them out and there's no error messages. Now, I'm going to suggest you put them in. If for no other reason, when it's a year from now and you're in the iOS class, all right, and we're working with a language called Swift, Swift requires that you put the curly braces in, whether it's one statement or multiple statements. But both C# and Java don't require, when it's just a single line, that you do that. Questions on this? All right, let's take a break. We'll come back at 11 o'clock. No. Which didn't you get? I'll put it up there on the screen right now for you. This? Okay. I will do that, but I'll tell you what, let me stop the run and start producing it, and then I'll put it right back up.